All right, welcome to the New York State MLS. This is a lesson on how to create a CMA, which is a comparative market analysis inside New York State MLS. Once you're logged into New York State MLS, the first thing you want to do is create a new client. Client calls you up. They say, I want to list my house for sale. And you say, okay, great. I'll be there tomorrow at 1 o'clock. And when I come, I'll bring some information about the market, and I'll let you know what I think your house is worth. So to start this off, you have to add a new client. You go to Clients, and you click Add New Client. And you want to add that client that just called. And for the purpose of this demonstration, I'm going to add the client. His first name is Joe, and we'll make his last name Mendez. And we'll just say because he's a residential client, we won't put a company name. But he told us his address, which was 225 Lincoln Place, and that's the property he wants to sell. And it's in Brooklyn. And the zip code is 11217. And he gave us his number, but I'm not going to give that out to you guys. I'll put it in as 718-555-5555. And there's some other tabs up here as well. You can add personal information about Joe, like his birthday, or his wife/partner's name, his kid's name if he told you them, and some preferences about what he might want to buy. Or since he's a seller, we can go to the notes page and said, wants to sell co-op. And we'll put the date, October 29th, 2015. Maybe we'll say who referred him to us. We'll say recommended by Dave. And you can just put whatever you want in these client notes. So if that all looks okay, you click Save. From here, to create his CMA, you go to Clients and Client CMAs. Click on Client CMAs. And you'll notice that there's a bunch of older CMAs I had created here. And you can also click Create New CMA. Or you can view the CMA tutorial. I'm going to click Create a New CMA. And I'm going to call this CMA 225 Lincoln Place, Unit 10B. And the description is 225 Lincoln Place, Unit 10B, condo. And I'm going to assign a client. And since I'd already added my client, I can just start typing his name and it will come up in the list. As I type Joe, Joe comes up in my list. So I can select him. If I hadn't added him yet, I could have added him just by clicking Add a New Client. But since I've added him already, I'm going to go ahead and click Joe Mendez. And I can make some notes if I want to. I can put a create date. Or any other notes that I want to have about the CMA here so I can remember them. And then I'll click Save. Once you've saved the beginning of the CMA, it's telling you now to add a subject property. So I'm going to go ahead and add the subject property. And that is the property that I want to list. Since this property is in one of the 5 boroughs of New York, it's best to add it as a blank listing. If it was in other parts of New York, I could have searched the tax records to import it. But for the New York City listings, what we want to do is add a blank listing. But if this listing had been entered before or was an older withdrawn or expired listing in New York State MLS, we could have cloned it as an inactive listing. But I'm going to go ahead, because this has never been listed before, and start a blank listing. And you just need to put in minimal information here, just so you have something to compare the comparables to a subject. So this is going to be our subject. The first item is the listing agent. And you might say, well, that seems pretty obvious since you're Dawn, you're logged in as yourself, and it says listing agent. But because I'm also the broker of my office, if I click the down arrow, I can see all the other people who are in my office. And so that if I was an admin making this CMA, or starting it at least, for one of my agents, I could select another agent from the office from the drop-down list. But because I'm creating it for myself, I'm going to select my own name. The property type is a co-op, but you can select whatever the property type is for your property in the drop-down list. I'm going to select co-op. And this particular listing appointment is to sell the home, not for a rental appointment. So I'm going to drop down and click sale. The suggested list price, that I don't know yet. That's what I'm trying to determine by creating this CMA. If I did know what I wanted to suggest, I could put that here. But since I'm trying to figure out what I want to suggest, I'm going to leave that blank for now. Under the street number, I'm going to enter the address. It's 225 Lincoln Place. And in the city, I'm going to put Brooklyn. And it comes up in the drop-down list as you start to type. The zip code, 11217. It's already filled in Kings County for me. The township is New York City. The school district is New York City Schools. The zoning is residential. I don't have to fill in property class or parcel ID. That's not really relevant unless you actually know those information before you go. You can come back and fill those in later when this becomes a listing. This is actually going to be saved as a draft, and when you do get the listing, you will be able to convert this over into a listing. Once I click the next step, it's going to map the property on a map here, and if that's not correct, you can pick it up and move it. But actually it is correct, so I'm going to leave it there, and I'm going to click next step. In the next step, this stuff at the top where it says date available, minimum term, maximum term, those are for rentals. So if I was doing this as a rental, I would fill those out, but because it's a sale, I'm going to leave those blank. The building style, this particular building is a mid-rise building. The apartment type is a garden apartment. And I know these things because I interviewed the seller before I got this information. So when the seller called me and he said I wanted to sell my home, I asked him some questions about it. And I asked him, what type of building style do you have? What type of apartment do you have? Is there a name to the building? He said, no, there is no name to that building. And I asked him what year the building was, and he told me it was from 1924. And he told me he had a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment, and that his particular unit is just a 1-story unit, and he's on the 10th floor, and he's in unit 10B. And I asked him about how big it was. He told me it was about 1,000 square foot unit. And I said, how many rooms do you have? He said 5 rooms in the unit, and that there was a living room and a kitchen and a foyer and a dining room. And from this list, that's about it. And the kitchen type was an eat-in kitchen, and that there's laundry in his building, that pets are allowed, that there's rooftop access, that there's basement access, bike storage. He told me it was a pre-war building, that there was storage available, that it had an elevator in the building, and that was all he told me about the building. Again, when I go visit him and actually inspect the building, I can change some of these items for when I put the actual listing in. But this is enough information to get me started for my CMA. He also told me that his unit has a balcony and a fire escape, but there was no garage access, no central air, and that it was radiator heat. Now I click next step. From here I can add a photo if I have one. I don't have to add a photo for the CMA, but it does make the CMA look better. So after he called me, I went past his building and I snapped a picture of the outside of the building. And I'm going to add that here by clicking Add Files. And I had saved the picture already to my desktop into a folder. And here's the picture I saved. And I'm going to bring that picture in. And now I'm going to click Start Upload. And this does make the CMA look nicer, that you went the extra mile, that you took that outside photo. Now I'm going to click Next Step. From here I have a couple of choices. I can view the CMA if I had already added photos to it, because in this step I could have added my my comparable sales already, and I'll show you that later. That's after we went back and edited it. But really what I need to do, since I haven't found my comparables yet, is I need to search to add comps. So I want you to click Search to add comps here. And we're going to be taken to the basic listing search inside New York State MLS. The property type that we're looking for is a single family, and we're either looking for condos or co-ops, something nearby the subject. We're looking for something in the city of Brooklyn, and our particular zip code is 11217. Our county is Kings, and even though I don't really know the price of the unit yet, I know it's that neighborhood. It's not going to be less than 500,000. So I'm just going to filter some of these out here. That's 500,000 to, it could be over $1 million. So I'm not going to put a high-end number in, just to see what's in the neighborhood. And I want to see properties that are active, and I want to see properties that are under contract, and I want to see properties that have sold within the last 6 months. So I'm going to, again, I check sold, and I have to go down here to days back and select how far back I want those comparable sales to be. And within 6 months, that's usually a good time frame. If I had more specialized dates, I could put listings to and from, contract date to and from, and sale date to and from. But I'm okay with any active listing, any contract listing, or any listings that sold within the last 6 months. And I need 2-bedroom units. And I'm going to click Preview Count. I just want to see how many comparables I have. And I have 25 comparables. And that's a good amount to do a CMA. That gives me just enough information in my zip code for me to be able to tell what a 2-bedroom condo or co-op would be worth. I'm going to click Search. And you'll see in my list that I have solds, contracts, and actives. I'm going to sort by status. From here, I can also show with a little thumbnail photo if I want to. I'm going to click Show with Photo. And now all the properties come up with a little photo next to them if a photo existed inside New York State MLS. Not all listings had a photo, but for the ones that did, we can see the ones with the photos here. Well, I really would love to see these plotted out on a map. So let me show you how we can do that. At the top, there's choices: New Search, Change Criteria, Tools, or Views. In the Views section, we can select Map. And when we do, a map comes up with our subject neighborhood and the properties plotted on the map. And since the subject property is right in this neighborhood, I'm going to want to stick to sales that are very close to the subject neighborhood. So I'm going to zoom in and take a look at these individual properties and see what came up. There's blue tags, purple tags, and green tags. And all of the different colors show some different property status. Blue shows sold properties. So this particular property is at 939 Union Street. It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, and it sold for $1.4 million. Let me see if I can find a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, which is what the subject is. This one for $979 was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath at 235 Lincoln Place. And I'm going to open that up by clicking on the link to it. And here's the listing. And it sold for $979,000 in Park Slope. It's a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. And I think that this would be a good comparable. So I'm going to click Add to Bucket/CMA. I'm going to just drop that down. And there's 225 Lincoln Place, Unit 10B. That's the CMA I'm creating because that's the name that I gave it when I started. So I'm just going to click that, and it says listing added to bucket 1617. That's the CMA that I am creating. And so now that this comparable is attached to my subject, because this opened in a new tab, I can just go back here to this tab that I had open, which still has my map properties. This is a green property, which shows that it's active for sale at 225 Lincoln Place, and that's the same address of my subject property. And what that tells me is this unit is active for sale in the same building as the subject. It's probably a different unit since mine is not listed for sale yet. I'm going to view this property. This is Unit 5B. I'm doing a CMA for Unit 10B. This is probably one of the best comparables I can use as a similar active sale. So I'm going to want to add this, add to bucket, and I'm going to add that to 225 Lincoln Place, Unit 10B. And now I've added that to my bucket. Again, I'm going to go back to my map and see if I can find some more comparable sales. Here's a comparable sale for $1.3 million in purple. And that's telling me that it's in contract. It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath unit. And I'm going to look at that as well. And I think that this would be a good comparable, except that it has 2 bathrooms, so it's going to need to be adjusted. It's almost the same size as my subject at 1,034 square feet, but with 2 bathrooms, it's going to have to be adjusted. It may also be in superior condition, and it may be a superior building. So what you want to do is flip through the pictures, take a really good look at what the pictures look like, and get an idea of the outside of the building. Is the outside of the building superior to the subject? You're going to have to know your neighborhood so you can see what it looks like of what this unit looks like on the outside. And you can also see a floor plan here. And so you might say that this has some different characteristics than your subject property, and so you might have to make some adjustments, but you're going to want to use this property in your CMA. So I'm going to click Add to Bucket, and I'm going to go 225 Lincoln Place, Unit 10B. I'm going to add it to that CMA. And so now I have 3 properties in my CMA. I have 1 sold, I have 1 active, and I have 1 under contract. It's up to you. You can add more solds, more actives, or more under contract properties. But for now, and just for the purpose of this demonstration, I'm going to go back to my map search. I'm going to click on the Clients tab. I'm going to click on Client CMAs. And here's the one I created, 25 Lincoln Place, Unit 10B. And there's my client. And I'm going to take action, and I'm going to do my CMA adjustments now. And as you see, I have the subject property that I entered with the picture that I attached and the 3 comparables that I found on the map, and then I added to this CMA. The first comparable is 235 Lincoln Place. It is a property that sold for $979,000. It's a similar 2-bedroom, 1-bath unit. And if it's in similar condition to my subject, which I'll find out when I get there, I'll be able to make those adjustments. For now, I don't see any adjustments that I need to make. I'm going to say that this is probably very similar. So I'm going to leave all my adjustments blank here. Comparable 2 was 153 Lincoln Place, Unit 2A, and it's in contract, and it was originally listed for $1,299,000. I feel that this probably won't sell for $1,299,000. I mean, I could be wrong, but generally properties sell for a little less. So we're going to adjust for price, and I'm going to add a price adjustment here because this was under contract and not sold. And let's assume it sells for $200,000 less than this is a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. So let's just say it's going to sell for $100,000 less than its list price. We don't actually know, but what we do is we look around the neighborhood and we see how much something sells for less than its actual list price. And if that number is typically a percentage or a dollar amount, but just for the purpose of this CMA, I just want to show you what a $100,000 adjustment would look like. We put a negative $100,000 adjustment here, and it adjusts the list price down to $1,199,000. And we might want to adjust for this second bathroom as well. What's that bathroom worth? You'll know what the bathroom is worth in your neighborhood as an expert, but just for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to put that it's worth $20,000. And I'm going to subtract $20,000 here, and now I've got $1,179,000 as an adjusted price. There was also this building style was superior to the subject building style. So we might also subtract another $100,000 for the difference in the building style. And now we have an adjusted sale price of $1,079, which is a lot closer to what our other comparable sold for. And then in the subject building, we have a co-op, and we have it listed for $900,000, and it's a similar 2-bedroom, 1-bath. And because we were able to see the pictures, we know what kind of condition it's in, and that it's been updated, and that it's very similar to the subject. And it's actively listed for $900,000. We're not going to make any adjustments on comparable 3. Now we can create notes. And here in the CMA, we are going to type notes about our comparable sales. We're going to explain the adjustments we made. Sale 1 is a similar co-op, similar in location and condition. No adjustments were made. Comparable 2 was adjusted for an additional bath and a superior building style. It was also adjusted for being in contract and not yet sold. Comparable sale 3 is located in the same building as the subject property and is an active sale listed for $900,000. Comparable sale 3 is most similar to the subject property. And then you can state that you think that your unit should also be listed for $900,000 to be competitive with comparable sale 3, if that's what you believe after the inspection, and if your seller agrees to that. Once you've finished this comparable section, you click Save All, and your notes will be saved. Once you're finished with the CMA, you can click View the CMA Report. From here, a cover page is created with the picture that you entered for your subject property, some information about the property, but it still says suggested price is 0 because we haven't filled that in yet. The next page shows your CMA with your subject property and your 3 comparable sales. It shows the comparable sales in a summary, and it shows the notes that you typed. From here, we can go back to the CMA by clicking on Clients, Client CMA, and we want to edit the subject to add what we think will be the suggested list price. From here, we're looking at the draft listing that we created, or the subject listing. We click the CMA wizard to re-enter it, and now we believe that the suggested list price should be $900,000. And we're going to just click Next Step and just go all the way through the wizard to finish it. And now we're going to click the View Recent CMAs, the CMA we created. We're here at the very first one we created. We click Actions, View the CMA Report. From here we can print this, and it will print in 3 nice pages. It will print a cover page, it'll print a page with your comparables, and your summary on the 3rd page. And you can take this with you on your listing appointment, and this is how you can show your seller that you know exactly what the properties are worth in their neighborhood, and you can show them how you determined the list price. This has been How to Make a CMA in New York State MLS.